So we just wanted to say hi to everyone because the book is released today. Andrew is showing you on the 19th of August. It's in multiple formats. Andrew's got the paperback there, but there is going to be a hardback version and there is also an ebook as well. So it's across, I think it's available in most countries. There might be the odd country it's not available in, but yeah, so it's available here in the UK, it's available in the US, it's, yeah, Australia, Japan. So yeah, it's going out everywhere. So hopefully everyone's going to enjoy the content.
Yeah, it's great. I've already flipped through it a couple times now, and it certainly will not disappoint if you're interested in true crime and true crime collectibles or history in general, because a lot of these names are historical names like John Wayne Gacy and Joseph Duncan. If you're into true crime, I guess that is in the historical aspect. But there's the book is what 303 pages total, and this is Serial Killers Volume 1, and I'll just flip to a random page. Okay, so Glenn Rogers, the what was his nickname?
It's quite a character,
The cross
Glenn
country
Rogers.
killer. The cross country killer, that was his nickname, right?
I think so.
Yeah, see, here's a I don't know if you can, okay, there we go. Here's this little drawing of the dragon that he did, and oh shit.
I like the picture with him and OJ where he's written on the back.
You know why there is a photo with him with OJ, right?
No, I don't. Oh
Similar
no, yeah, of course. That's because he said that he was hired by IJ, didn't he, to kill them both.
Nicole.
Yeah,
Yeah, to kill Nicole, and it like I guess the story goes that it was supposedly supposed to be a robbery, then it got messy when Ron Goldman was there and blah blah blah. But of course there's millions of other conspiracies about out there about what
yeah,
happened.
isn't
But
there just?
that's why that photo was in there. Like if because I know a lot of people would probably think that it's random that there's some serial killer next to OJ Simpson, but
Yeah, no, but there is a reason.
yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so we have the Serial Killers Volume 1 that is out now, and we'll have Serial Killer Volume 2 out soon, and then we'll have, let's see, female offenders, mass shooters, school shooters, organized crime slash gangs slash cartels, yeah, hitmen.
Yeah. Well, there's basically something for everyone, isn't there? Like in amongst all of that, you can collect the whole series, or that if there's just specific books that you're interested in. I think the joy of this is a lot of the serial killers, especially in the books and the other offenders. A lot of these people are not around anymore. So like, especially when it's the letters, like you're getting to hear from people that are no longer here. And there's a lot of the collection is so large that there's probably going to be books dedicated just to set offenders. Like for example, the Aileen Warner, like there's so many letters from Aileen, and they're like the content of them, they're kind of a bit heartbreaking because she talks a lot about how everyone was exploiting her and what people were doing to her. And, so it's really interesting because it's like a different perspective, isn't it? Because she's not around anymore. So you see all these documentaries and stuff about her, but to actually read her letters talking to her friends, it's like a completely different perspective. And there's a lot of letters like that from people that are not around. Like I said, this will be in the next book, but there's letters from Tommy Lynn Sells talking about being scared of dying, or you know, like there's is it Gary Bowles' letters where he's so sure he was getting an execution stay and he didn't, so you get to see like a different perspective basically, like, and it's not to say that I'm saying you should feel sorry for them, or that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's interesting seeing like these people are described as monsters and all of these things, but you see they're very human when you read those letters. You see the human aspect of them and how it all, yeah, like pans out. So I found it really interesting, like from a research point of view. And I've got academic friends that, like we find this stuff fascinating because you don't really get to hear from the actual offenders, really. So yeah, I think people will be surprised at some of the stuff in there. And yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well, because a lot of people, I'm sure, would probably assume that like a letter from, say, Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer is going to be talking about necrophilia and eating
Yeah,
people and
they
this and that,
don't.
but it's really not. Like it's those letters are so rare. Like I mean, Philip Jablonski was one that would write letters like that, and I have one letter that will be in the next book from Vincent Rivera. He murdered Gerard Schaefer actually, and the letter is literally detailing like I killed him. He was nothing but a punk bitch and blah blah blah, and he was
Yeah.
bragging about killing all these women and yada yada yada. But those letters are far and in between the just like creepy, like talking about their crimes, whatever. And a lot of it is just average everyday things or
Yeah, like Sutcliffe's letters, Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Rippers. They're the most boring letters you'll ever read in your life. They're so mundane and normal, and it's I don't know what people expect. I think that's part of the thing, isn't it? People think the letters are really controversial, and they're sitting there like reliving what happened. But I even when I've written to offenders, they don't, and I don't bring it up. I don't talk to people about their crimes. Like I tend to ask them about their childhood, or we find neutral things to talk about because I'm that. If I want to know about their crimes, I would look at their court documents and stuff. Like where you've got actual documents that are true, basically. So yeah, but I think with the letters, like there are the odd people that try and justify what they did, or but like you said, I think they're very few and far between. Like because I suppose it's personal, and a lot of them they could probably still get in trouble for a lot of the stuff. So they're not going to talk about stuff that could open up old cases, and yeah. So
yeah,
they talk
appeals or
about
whatever.
interesting stuff though, like just because they're not talking about their murders, it doesn't mean what they're talking about isn't interesting, if that makes sense. That's why I think we there is stuff that we came across, me and Andrew, that is like, right, to say it's taboo is an understatement, really. So we decided that we weren't going to give that stuff airtime just because it is so controversial and it's kind of gross, like. So I think that's the thing I want to make a point of is with the book, like there isn't any of that stuff in there. If that's what you're looking for, you're looking in the wrong
Yeah,
place.
you're
This
not
is
going to see
all there
any.
for educational purposes, for you to learn and see like different, like I said, a different perspective, basically.
Yeah, there will be no like crime scene photos, photos of dead children or victims or anything. This is strictly, like artwork, letters, documents, unpublished photographs, whatever, of serial killers specifically, and
Yeah,
just almost 13 years worth of stuff that I've gathered, as well as a couple of friends of mine that have, you know, um, contributed as well. So it's definitely interesting if you're interested in true crime, which I'm sure everybody listening is interested in true crime,
yeah.
then at least go click the description or click the link in the description and check it out.
Yeah. And remember, there's a lot of people that are not so well known in there. So if you wanted to learn about some new cases, there's a brief description of all the people that are in there. So, like I said, if you're looking for some different cases instead of like just the same cases that they tend to always cover, there's some people you might not have heard of. There was when I was compiling the book up, like putting it all together, there were so many people. I said, Andrew, who's that? I've never heard of him. Like I've never come across this case. So yeah, I think that's another aspect of the book that people will find interested is they're not all massive cases. They're all serial killers, but they're some of their cases for whatever reason didn't get the same sort of publicity. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, there are, especially in the other books, female killers and organized
Yeah.
crime, this and that. There's going to be a lot of unknown names that are very interesting cases, like because I spend all my time researching cases. Like people will ask you, "What do you do for fun?" I'm like, "Well, it's funny you should ask." I'm always finding, very, you know, um, I guess lesser high profile cases that are more, interested and unique. And there's going to be so many names that people will probably have to look at. Well, I guess they won't have to look them up because the descriptions of the
Yeah.
cases will be in the book. But there's so many, serial killers, mass murderers, mass
Well,
shooters, and
you'll see the difference if you try to look some of them up because, like, for some of them, there is hardly anything. Like they're really hard to find, even like an interview about them. Whereas other cases are huge. So
Right,
yeah,
like a serial killer by the name of Gary Grant. I mean, it's a
yes,
horrific case, but you can't find anything unless you read Cloyd Steiger's book or maybe Murderpedia, if that, and that case is so insane and so historical in the state of Washington. And it's like, so what we have, on him will be what's really out there, and people will probably learn a new, I guess, serial killer added to their Rolodex in their brain of serial killers.
yeah, this is it. Well, we see it all the time, don't you, in the true crime groups? Like people are always looking for new people to look up, and it's we all
Yeah,
have a morbid fascination with serial killers. So I think and it's surprising. When one of the things that really surprised me when I was writing my book is the amount there are. Like you can't. There's like just if you're just out of curiosity, just type into Wiki list of serial killers, and then it does it by country, and there's this huge list. Like
yeah. I
there's
mean,
so many.
yeah. There's so many, especially since the FBI updated the term, which is two victims or more
Yeah,
with a cooling off period. So, I mean, that makes so many people that I've interviewed reclassified as serial killers, and the serial killer interviews alone that I've released, I think I've got at least 10. And like
yeah,
I could name off probably 10 serial killers that I'm sure 85% of the general public has never heard of. And then if I went into details, like Jack Spillman being one, he's a more lesser known, high profile serial killer. And you look up his crimes and see the crime scene photos, and you're like, oh my God, how have I never heard of this guy? Or George
yeah. This
Russell,
is it.
I
Like
mean,
they're
like,
not that just because they're not well known cases doesn't mean like there's a lot of that. I think is just politics a lot of the time.
right, right,
It's not that some of them are really heinous cases. It's not that isn't the reason that they weren't published. Look at Coral. Coral's always my prime example. Dean Coral, like he killed so many people, yet no one really knows about him.
right.
Like or that Gacy like basically copied most of what Coral was doing because they put it all in the newspaper. So, like I think with cases, especially when you're talking about black perpetrators, like look at Samuel Little. Like he's the most prolific serial killer. Yeah, hardly anyone knows who Samuel Little is, or the names of his victims, or no one even bothered looking for his victims. It was only that there was a really good police officer that knew there was more to it, and a journalist that ended up speaking to him that they even came to light that he'd actually killed that many people. That's why there's all the paintings of the victims. Like that was other people pressing him, like to get that information from him. But yeah, I don't like. I suppose it's just sensationalism, isn't it? Like with certain victims are more high profile. I think that's what it boils down to. Like,
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, if you think about it with the Dean Corll incident, if Wayne Henley would have been killed along with his girlfriend, and Dean Corll would have went to trial, I think he would have probably would have been the biggest serial killer
yeah.
in the 20th century. Like,
Well, it would
you
have
can
all
think
come
of.
out, wouldn't it? What was going on? Like, I think that's the problem because he was just shot. There was none of that, was there? It was just kind of all done through Henley. And I think the thing that always bothers me about Henley is his age. Like, like he was only 14, wasn't he? 14, 15. So yeah, like he was involved in all of that. But now we sort of know a lot more about coercion and like I think if say he got tried nowadays, I think he'd probably be treated very differently from how he was treated then. Like,
Yeah,
they've just denied him parole, haven't they? He's like obviously sick or something's going on because
yeah, I
they
can't I
turned
can't
him
see them
down.
ever I can't see them ever
I don't
letting
know.
him out. It'd be like political suicide, just like with anybody from the
Yeah, this
Manson
is it.
family. I mean, David Owen Brooks died in prison, and I know Wayne Henley's gonna end up dying in prison too. And
I think there's certain cases where they're just so taboo, aren't they? So
like even if they have like a, say they're dying of cancer or whatever, like Susan Atkins of the Manson family wanted a compassionate release from California, and they said no. Like, they, a lot of the times they don't care, and especially that case is, I don't think it's old enough to the point where there's victims' family members have all, like died out
No,
or whatever.
definitely
Like
not.
there's
And
there
it is, like I said, it was a really heinous case. Like it was
right.
really bad. And I can understand why, like, they don't want to take the risk with Henley. Like, I do get that. Like at the same time, it's just, I don't know. It's some cases are just, yeah, they're just beyond belief, aren't they? Like you don't really, I don't think you'll ever really find out what actually went on, Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of that in true crime. A lot of it's just speculation, isn't it? Like from other people. But yeah, we never really know like what goes on.
Yeah, but at least we'll get a little glimpse with this
Yeah.
book, a glimpse into the mind, whether it's just everyday things in prison or, chit-chatting with pen pals and whatnot.
And the
People,
artwork and what they choose to draw and what like I always think that's fascinating as well, the things that they choose to draw for other people, like draw these really so you have these like serial killers that have killed multiple people, yet they draw these really cute little like cartoon I love you cards for people. And like it's like I said, you get to see a different perspective, you get to see the human side of them as well as the other side that did awful things. So yeah, for me, like I said, for researching purposes, it's like really, really interesting. And I think a lot of people will be fascinated by the content of the book because there's a bit of everything. Like even just there's a lot of prison documents. Like you'll get to see what a visiting form looks like for San Quentin. You'll get to see commissary slips. You get to see receipts of the stuff that they put. Like all of that stuff like really interesting. Like if you've not ever had anyone incarcerated, you don't know what all of that, like all the stuff that you have to fill out to just be able to go and visit someone. And so I think there's lots of things that will appeal to all different people. Like yeah, there's something for everyone basically.
yeah, so today the book is available, on ebook format, hardcover, paperback, both in America, the UK, wherever in the world you live, except Russia and North Korea. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
go
out there.
click the link in the description, go check out the book, go buy a copy, and we will
Yeah, make sure you leave a review as well because that like we'd love to get your feedback, especially because we're doing other books. So yeah, it'd be really like your feedback would be really, really appreciated.
yes, most definitely. Yeah, definitely leave some feedback and let us know whether you liked it, hated it, whatever.
Yeah,
You won't hurt our feelings.
yeah.
So, all right, well, we can get out of here again,
Yeah.
and we'll do this in the near future when we drop volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, and so forth.
No, just keep them running. And all the best and enjoy.